I don't understand what you even like about Jason. What does he have that I don't have?
A soul? And genitals?
Oh, here we go with this whole no genitals thing again. You're the one that gave me wind chimes instead of a penis, Janet.
This isn't about your wind chime penis. In fact, it's not about you at all. I don't even know what it is about, which is very confusing because the whole point of me is that I know everything!
Hi everybody, welcome to another week of the podcast. I am pleased to introduce you to my new co-host this week. I just made him before we began recording. Everyone, meet Steven.
Steven!
How are you doing? Are you ready to host a podcast after just being brought into the ether moments ago?
Steven!
Okay.
Pod?
This is going to be fun. This won't get old fast at all. This is going to be great. We're going to do this bit for the entire podcast episode. That's going to be this whole thing. Welcome to Into the Time Knife, everyone. I'm very glad you joined us. Hi, everyone. I'm Zach. I'm kind of your mama.
I'm Steven. And Jason. It
would have really been committing to the bit if you had a sign for our video watchers to read, but we don't. We don't have that kind of thing. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Into the Time Knife, a Good Place Rewatch podcast. We're really glad to be back. It's going to be another really fun episode recapping The Good Place before we say au revoir for a few weeks as we take a little summer break.
Nice French, Zach. Can we get that one again? Can you put a little
au
bit
revoir.
Of seasoning on it?
Au revoir.
Ooh, yeah.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm glad you're here. We've got to start out the show, as always, by shouting out our $10 and up patrons at patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast. This is our first time recording in June, and the names stuck around. Shout out to those people. They are Mary Baker Budisa, who I'll never forget to say first, ever again. Danny M. Lugo, Justin Fortier, and Autumn Marsh, who is just bottom of the barrel, I guess, now. Sorry.
Now, if our patrons
really.
were musketeers, who do you think would be like the lead musketeer, and who would be the one that's like angsty Anakin? The fuck was that? There's like a noise outside my window.
I can't hear it.
Oh, you will.
Well, I feel like your mom is probably the leader.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. The only other person that I kind of know is Danny. So I guess Danny
is the angsty one.
the angsty
Anakin type.
Who do you think it is? Do you think Justin or Autumn seem angsty?
I think Justin's got the Frenchest name.
And the French are just a people of angst.
Of angst, constantly.
Of great angst.
Have you seen Les Mis?
Yes,
like, get
on
over
stage
yourself.
And screen. I'm seeing another Broadway show tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow? Have you been secretly Canadian this whole time,
I did not
Zach?
say it like that. I said tomorrow. We're seeing Ain't Too Proud, the Temptations musical, tomorrow.
Nice.
I think it'll be fun. I think.
Can you tell me, Zach? This is my gatekeepiness for Black culture. Because if I'm not doing that, what am I doing here? Do you know the famous quote from the Temptations movie?
You've said it to me within the last 6 months, and my answer is no. But you're gonna tell me, and it's gonna ring a bell.
Yes, we were looking for Ain't Nobody Coming to See You, Otis.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Is that going to be in the musical, do you think?
Doubt it.
I'll update
you.
I
bet the musical's going to be more positive stuff.
How was your week?
It's been good, been busy, been good. I just got back from a trip to your neck of the woods where I once again did not come by to visit you.
I'm not
but I was on a real
anymore. I just
tight schedule on this one because I was there for my brother's high school graduation. Very proud of him.
That's crazy.
Shout out to Ryan.
Absolute shout out.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else? That's all you got?
I saw The Little Mermaid.
And you really enjoyed it. I'm a little skeptical if it's going to be good. I haven't seen it yet, but I will see it.
Yeah, Zach was like, not my Ariel.
No.
Where's the strawberry red hair?
Honestly, I'm way more not my Ursula.
I think that because we didn't talk about this earlier. We talked. Check out the pre-show to get the whole discourse. But I thought that Melissa McCarthy did a good job.
My problem isn't her. It's that they should have cast a drag queen.
Yeah.
They should have cast a drag queen.
You know who else I think would have played the role really well?
Huh.
Titus Burgess, I think, would have been a great Ursula.
Sure.
As well.
Sure.
And he was in the Little Mermaid Broadway play. Some of the arrangements that they did in the movie were really good improvements to the originals. Danny said that in Under the Sea they did it more like the Broadway version than the movie, which I liked a lot. Sounded very cool. Visuals really pretty. The real life, like live action digital animals are still like gross and scary, but Flounder was in it like 2 times for 6 seconds, so you didn't have to look at them very
That's
often.
one of the things I'm most skeptical about. I think the animated, realistic, uncanny animals are bad.
Whereas
and I think
the Lion King was only
badly.
that,
yeah,
terrifying. I couldn't even watch it. Too scary.
I didn't see it.
But this
honestly.
one has enough people in it that you kind of forget about the fish until you see one, and you're like, oh, and then they are off the screen, and you're back to just enjoying the movie. Flounder is nightmarish. Jacob
I do
Tremblay.
want to pat myself on the back.
Tremblay
We can
fan.
step. We don't need to go back and Under the Sea again. The pre-show really.
We laid it all out there. Zach said that how he felt about the wokeification of children's media.
I want to pat myself on the back because I'm not a car guy. I am not a doing stuff guy. I am a make my problem someone else's problem type guy. And I fixed the brakes on my own car.
Wow. Now, what Zach's not telling you is that he drives a Fred Flintstone car, so the brakes are just his
My feet. They were
But he got some new shoes.
up. I started wearing shoes. They were always barefoot, weren't they?
Yeah.
Well, I did have help from somebody who knew what they were doing, but there became a point where neither of us knew what we were doing. But we did fix it. We had to keep taking the tires back off because we remembered like, oh shit, we forgot to do this or we did this wrong. But
did you have the car like up on like a jack lifted up and you were like under it on like a Vin Diesel like gym class?
I didn't have that.
Did you have like a gym class
on
scooter
the gravel
that you were floating on?
I was just on the gravel.
Ooh.
It was like 90 degrees outside. We were out there from
That's
10:30 in the morning to like 6 p.m.
Wow.
It was a long day, but I fixed them. And honestly, as grueling and unpleasant as that day was, driving it and it working so well and knowing that I did that is super satisfying.
You think that's what having a kid is like?
Can't imagine. And
same. Autumn, write us in and tell us, how does having an actual real life child compare to when you fix something and it works?
Well, honestly, very much shout out if we're talking about kids. Sometime listener of the podcast, Lil's dear friend Kelsey just had her baby, and Lil and I are the godparents.
Wow! Congratulations
Not that
to
really,
you guys.
Thank you so much. We got a
honor.
plan. We're gonna take out Kelsey and Brant within a couple weeks. You know, don't want to let the kid form a dependency or anything.
Shout
Get him
out to
here
Kelsey,
quick.
just in general. When I knew her, she went by the nickname Beanie, and so that's what I know her as. But
Shout out to Kelsey and Brant. Their little girl Fran is adorable.
She a nanny? The nanny name, Fran.
That's where the name is from, yes.
That's great. We were just talking, Danny and myself, another patron, shout out. She didn't have a kid, but we did talk about how iconic Fran Drescher's style was today.
Sure. Screen Actors Guild president, Fran Drescher.
Wow, that's awesome. Good for her.
I don't know. I think maybe she said some
rags to
boomer
riches.
stuff during the strike. But good for her, I guess. Love her.
Yeah.
She still looks amazing.
Mm-hmm.
What are we talking about? Babies.
The Good Place.
Why are we talking about babies? Sure, let's talk about The Good Place. We're here to talk about Season 2, Episode 8 of The Good Place. This is Chapter 21, Derek.
Derek!
You talked last week about how even though Derek can be maybe a controversial character for some people, that not everybody loves him, you said that you pretty much like him every time he pops up. This episode is titled Derek. If there's a Derek episode, it's this one. How are you feeling?
I love it. I mean, I had one of my hardest laughs of the entire time recording this show.
Wow.
And like prepping for it, because I usually watch the episode by myself, and just as human beings, we tend to laugh a little bit less by ourselves. This is a show that does regularly make me laugh out loud, and I probably laughed the hardest I have in the runtime at a joke in this episode that I think is so visually, auditorily.
I'm not sure what you're talking about. This is a very funny episode.
Funny.
Is that just a tease? You're gonna wait to tell us later?
Yeah, we'll get there.
Okay.
I gotta edge you up to it, Zach. You know, I never let you go on the first countdown.
I'm so close, but then you just take me right a step back.
Right into an ice bath.
This episode, Derek, it was directed by, this is a first-time director for the show, Jude Wang, who, outside of this episode, directs The Brainy Bunch and Chidi Sees the Time Knife. So those are two pretty big episodes next season. And outside of this, she's done a lot of really, I'm not sure if it's a man or
What's the
woman.
first name? Judy?
I guess it's Jude. It could just be Jude. That could be a man.
Jude is Jude.
Yes.
Not Judy.
I think I said Jude.
I'm pretty sure you wrote an email to me and you said, hey, just so you know, it's Judy, like the judge.
It doesn't really matter, I guess, but I'm going to look it up.
You sent that to me in email.
I said that to you at a dinner. It's a woman. It's a woman. She's a woman.
It's a woman.
She has a really impressive body of work outside of The Good Place. She's directed one episode.
Find out the director's a woman and you start talking about her body immediately, Zach. Jesus Christ.
She's directed an episode of kind of family of this podcast of series. She directed an episode of Dr. Ken with Ken Jeong. She directed one episode of The Goldbergs, one episode of a show that I really enjoy called Crashing that's about
Have you watched The Goldbergs?
No.
You're literally like the main character. You would love that show.
It recently ended. After
you're
11 seasons or something like that.
It's literally you, Zach. Like, in the best way. I mean that with love.
Am I going to watch it and be like, this is what Steven thinks of me?
Yeah. But he's, like, really into, like, filmmaking and things. Like, it's based on the creator of the show. It's really good.
Jude or Judy, who am I to judge? Also directed 4 episodes of Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, a show that I love very much.
Hey, we like that.
An episode of Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, 6 episodes of Fresh Off the Boat, 2 episodes of iZombie, and the hits keep coming.
Wow, at least I like every show that's
all of
been
these
mentioned.
shows. She directed an episode of Shameless.
Ooh,
she directed an animated
Shameless
film called Finding Ohana. Have you heard of this movie?
No, but Ohana means family, and family means no one's left behind, and I can get with that.
She's directed 2 episodes of The Connor, for The Connors, the Roseanne spinoff.
Won't watch, but I know
2 episodes of The Connors, too woke for you.
I won't be watching Rose. I'm happy that they got rid of her and that they started a different show, but like, I'm still not gonna watch it.
but like, honestly, it is worth celebrating that they got rid of the awful person, and now the show is kind of woke.
Mm-hmm. Well, good.
She directed 4 episodes of Blackish, 2 episodes more recently of Only Murders in the Building, which is a really popular show.
I've heard that's good.
I watched the first season of it. It is pretty good.
Selena
and
Gomez
most recently,
right?
she directed an episode of the Party Down reboot that was this year.
Oh, shit.
And 2 episodes of the new Bob Odenkirk AMC show, Lucky Hank. So what a body of work. Jude Wang. Come on the show. Tell us how to say her name.
Yeah.
This episode was written by a first-time writer for The Good Place, Cord Jefferson. Outside of this, he wrote the episodes The Worst Possible Use of Free Will and Tinker Tailor Demon Spy. And outside of The Good Place, he was a writer on 196 episodes of The Nightly Show with Larry Wilmore. Did you ever watch that?
Wow. Yeah.
Was that like on Comedy Central?
Yeah. Well, at least he used to be on Comedy Central, so I'm assuming the talk show that he got might have been.
And he was also like a writer's room writing correspondent on the first season of Master of None, or maybe the second season of Master of None.
Oh, that's cool.
And the Watchmen miniseries.
That was really good.
That's
what I thought it was going to be. It was great. And I loved the Watchmen movie and graphic novel.
I haven't seen or read anything. Ever. I haven't seen or read anything.
I've never consumed media.
This episode originally aired on November 2nd, 2017. And with that date in mind, November 2nd, 2017, we're going to give it some context. First, we'll talk about the #1 movie on November 2nd, 2017. This movie is I believe, if I'm contextualizing where this movie lies in the franchise correctly, a horror prequel that's an origin story for an iconic 2000s horror villain. 2000s.
Is this Halloween?
No, 2000s. 2000s. It's like a character that came up in the 2000s and was very popular in the 2000s.
There wasn't a Friday the 13th that year. That came out before then.
What I'm trying to stress to you is that the character was created in the 2000s. All of these characters were made up in the 70s.
Oh, fuck. Those movies are that old?
The originals? Absolutely.
I know Nightmare on Elm Street was the 80s because that was introducing Johnny Depp.
This one, though, 2000s. It started in the 2000s.
You've Scooby-Doo
definitely seen some of these. It was Jigsaw. It was Jigsaw.
Okay, because I was like, Scream didn't come out then. Okay. I only saw Saws 1, 2, and 4. So I have not seen Jigsaw. Are the Saw movies good? The first one's
I haven't seen any of them. I was scared of like gory stuff when I was younger.
Oh, you would not like those then.
That was so frustrating.
So Hellraiser definitely was pre
the number one album. I don't know how to lead you to this because it's not a group I was familiar with, so I was surprised to see their album at number one. I think it's one artist. I think he's like R&B with. I think it said he won maybe a gospel award, but I think maybe there's some rap in there too. I don't know how to lead
and the
you
Family.
This. 2017. What did you say?
Kirk Franklin and the Family.
No, it's I know who that is. I was a church kid.
Yeah.
This is someone called NF. Do you know who that is?
NF. Yeah.
Okay.
Industry plant type shit. Don't think the music's that great.
Okay,
He had
well,
one
the
song
album
that was
was
pretty
Perception.
popular. Yeah.
That was the number one album this week.
I guess he's fine. I think he's like a worse G-Eazy.
Oh, worse. Whom?
G-Eazy.
Oh, I know who that is. I thought you just said GE, and I thought that was like an appliance.
General Electric. Yeah, he's like a worse version of that company.
And they're pretty bad.
Well,
you know what time it is, folks. We're into the episode. We're talking about The Good Place, and Steven is going to get this thing started by telling us everything that happened this week on The Good Place in the episode, Derek. It's time to find out, did Steven watch the episode this week?
Did Steven watch the episode this week?
The way you performed that made me feel like I needed to place my hand over my heart as if you were singing the national anthem.
Oh my God, Zach,
Mm-hmm.
there's something that I have to tell you just
Sure,
came into my head.
please.
And I don't care if this is in the episode or not. For some reason, at my brother's lapel high school graduation, the band performed all of Aladdin.
The whole movie?
Like, they did, like, Arabian Nights all the way to fucking You Got a Friend, or You Never Had a Friend Like Me. They did all the songs. A Whole New World.
What that tells me is that the band
Prince Ali.
The band must not be very good, so they couldn't pick up some graduation music as quickly as they would need and make it sound good. So the first quarter, they played the Aladdin medley, and it wasn't good, but it made everyone smile because it reminded them of Robin Williams. So they were doing it again for graduation because they kind of know how to play it.
Zach, it was terrible. I was laughing so hard. And this was like the third thing that happened. Like, everyone came in, like the graduates all sat down, the choir sang the national anthem, and then and then they went straight to fucking
Mr. Aladdin, please. Did they play any other songs?
No.
So I think
They
I'm
played
right.
The Pomp and Circumstance. The choir sang the national anthem. The band played Aladdin. Then the choir sang some sad song about, like, I'll never sing again. And then they like did the thing.
You've got 20 seconds on the clock. How you feeling?
Strong as 10 regular men. Oh, what a guy. I think that so I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
This is the closest to recording that I've watched the episode in a very long time.
And Steven's a big businessman. How many phone calls did you take while watching the episode?
2 simultaneous ones in the last 6 minutes of the episode.
Well, you have made it clear that you have multiple cell phones. Was it one phone in each hand? Did you have like a Bluetooth
it was on the
thing
same
going on?
phone. I have switched going back and forth.
Okay.
And the last phone call, because I was like, oh no, we're about to start the pre-show. Thankfully, you were like, hey man, no problem. I love you. Gave me a little kiss in the ear, and you just started that timer over. But I watched the last 4 of the minutes of the episode on the phone with someone, so I was paying attention more to the episode. But we'll see. Maybe I have no idea what the fuck happened.
Well, let's find out. Are you ready?
I think I'm ready.
Let's do it. 3, 2, 1, go.
Janet made Derek, and now she's not glitchy anymore, but Derek is a fucking nuisance. He's a monster. He's always around being annoying, and if Vicky finds out, then it's bad news bears. Janet and Derek start fighting. Jason and Tahani are gonna get married because they're nice to each other and they like each other. They gotta stop it because maybe it'll be bad for Janet if they get married.
Stop.
She'll freak out.
I feel like you missed quite a bit.
Yeah.
got some
I'm gonna
stuff
be
in
honest. I was like, maybe I'm doing okay, and then I saw you go like this. and I was like, oh no.
I don't remember what I did that to. I think you were just spending a lot of time on one thing.
I think I said Janet and Derek are fighting. Jason and Tahani are gonna get married because they're nice to each other, and you said
that's funny.
It was great.
You got a decent amount, but you missed probably a third of the episode.
I didn't get the ending.
I don't think you didn't get anything about Eleanor and Chidi.
Eleanor. And that's important.
You didn't get anything about Eleanor and Chidi. That's a C+. C+ for the boy.
I'll take it.
Almost B-, but I feel like not mentioning Chidi
that
and
was pretty
Eleanor
major.
gets you to C quality. That's pretty.
They didn't
important.
even say Michael's name.
No, really, that side of the episode, those three trying to fix stuff.
Yeah.
The ethics of the episode, none of that. Well, let's get into what else we got, which is some trivia. I've got more questions than I thought for you. I have 7.
I've got 6. Why don't you go first, baby?
Okay. What is Eleanor's ideal rebound like? Oh no, this does not.
Oh wait.
Yeah.
Either.
Yeah, there we go.
Stone Cold Steve Austin's head on Tahani's body, or
vice versa.
I'd be down for either one of those. Stone Cold Steve Austin's either chiseled body,
yes,
or his bald head and facial hair.
Yeah.
Hell yes.
Okay.
He's got muscles, Zach.
I'm not judging. I bet he does. He can drink a beer. You're more into the muscle men.
I don't want someone too soft for my ravaging.
All right.
Not in guys.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why Danny's just ripped.
Danny's shredded
Arnold Schwartz. If you saw Danny from the neck down, you'd be like, "Is that Arnold Schwarzenegger from the 80s?" It's your turn.
You know what I like? What British aspects does croquet display?
The 2 classic aspects of British sport, whimsy and... I'm trying to say it without looking at my thing. That was my next question. Whimsy and dourness, something like that. Restraint.
Restraint. Whimsy and restraint.
Yeah. Where did Tahani learn to make flower crowns?
Oh, fuck. The finishing school. What was it, like the school of girls of perpetual mourning, sadness,
Hertfordshire Academy for
more somethingless girls, shadowless girls,
somethingless girls,
smileless girls, thoughtless girls, idealess girls,
expressionless
girls, and also she says something else starts with a C.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
that was the answer. That's all I needed. Sure. Your turn, again.
Must not have been in your episode. Who has told Chidi how much of a drag he is?
Everyone, constantly.
You nailed it.
What does Jason have that Derek doesn't have?
Genitalia is one. The other one was a kind soul, I believe.
Just a soul.
A soul and genitalia.
Well, I'll give that to you.
It's not my fault you put wind chimes where my genitalia would be. Where was Jason's high school?
Does this include what it was called? Do you want the whole
No,
spiel?
I don't need the name. I just need the location.
It was in a series of tugboats that were put together in a junkyard.
Mm-hmm. Can you give me the...
In Jacksonville.
Sure. Do you know where Jacksonville? I'm going to give it to you. I'm not going to give you the...
I'm not sure on that.
It's a bunch of tugboats tied together in a in a junkyard in northeast Jacksonville.
Northeast. I was going to say north. I would have gotten a little closer. What does Janet use as lotion?
The concept of time?
You've got... Concept isn't the word.
The passing of time.
The passage of time.
Fuck! What the fuck? What awesome stuff happens at the beach?
Jersey Shore and crabs are the only 2 that are coming to my mind right now, but there are 2 others. I'm not sure, though.
Swimsuit issues and Saving Private Ryan are the other 2.
Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah.
Who was Jason's first kiss? Was this in your episode? It's very near the end. It's Jason and Tahani are in bed together.
Because she's like, oh, we should get to know each other more. Like, who was your first kiss? It's like, I don't even know who your first kiss was. And he was like, oh, it was, was it a carny of some sort?
Nope.
Just give it. I'm not going to guess.
The sexy mouse robot in the Chuck E. Cheese band.
Yeah. I get it.
Really?
Why shouldn't Jason eat everything that smells good?
Well, because sometimes it's candles.
Sometimes it's candles.
Last question for you. What did Eleanor do when her change oil light came on?
She just abandoned her car on the side of the road?
No.
In a Denny's parking lot.
No.
Where?
In a parking garage.
Parking garage.
That's all my trivia.
What does Tahani possess that's award-winning?
Legs.
Her award-winning legs. That's my last one for you. Good job, Zach.
Well, let's get into the episode. Well, actually, I think before we get into the episode, you should tell your Jason Mantzoukas story.
Oh, shit, yeah. So, I live in Chicago, city of stars and
nice
shines.
Brag. I don't know if anybody's called either of those things.
Yeah, I work in a pretty, nice, I guess, area of downtown. And I was walking to the train one day, and who do I spy but Jason Mantzoukas and Paul Scheer just, walking down the fucking street. I guess they were filming, their show in the city, and so they were just, walking around. And I'm like, okay, I'm not the type of person to run up and be like, oh my god, it's you, and, let me take a picture of you or with you. But, and they didn't seem like they were trying to be noticed. Yeah, they were just in very casual walking around clothes.
But on the other hand, that's a neat I know exactly who these people are.
Yeah, which has not happened to me a ton of times in that scenario. So I kind of walked up because there weren't a lot of people around. I kind of said kind of softly hey, I don't want to cause a big stir, but would you guys mind if I took a selfie with you guys really quick? And they were like, yeah, sure, just be quick about it. 'Cause we were at a stop crosswalk, and I think they were going one direction, I was going the other. So I just grabbed a selfie really quick, and then went on. But they were super nice. I said I was big fans, great to meet them, and then they went on about their business. But they were super friendly. Jason Mantzoukas is just as handsome in person.
I bet. Is he really tall?
No.
Huh. Are you taller than Jason Mantzoukas?
I might have been.
Wow.
That turned you on a little bit.
That's a cool story.
But yeah,
did they say
Paul
anything
Scheer,
silly,
not the Paul Scheer
anything zany to you? Or were they get out of here, kid, we're trying to...
They're get scrammed!
On the way to
no,
alcohol
I think
class.
they made some sort of joke when I was taking the picture. Jason Mantzoukas said something funny, but I don't remember the specifics. I was too in awe of how raging his crotch was, against me. It was rough.
That's a really cool story. I mean, Chicago's a big city, but it's not a place that you expect, I think, to run into people like that very often. Mm-hmm. Let's get into the episode. I think this is a really good episode. I think it's really funny. I think this is
I'll
a
send
really
you the
strong
pictures, Zach,
episode.
so you can post it.
Actually, sure.
It's on my Instagram.
We were past that. We're done talking about your thing.
You can fix it in post.
I think it's a really great episode because it's super funny, and there's also some really good ethical speak that's pertinent to the episode and also fuels the types of conversations that this show does so well. I think It's a really successful episode. All of the characters have nice moments, and it's got a great cliffhanger. Just as things are starting to feel comfortable, the rug is pulled underneath them, which is what this show does so well.
Well, and I think I guess we can talk more about it later, but the show kind of returns to... It was almost like a snap back to reality moment.
Whoa, there goes gravity.
Whoa, there goes gravity. Nose. But I think that it's so smart, the pacing of this show, and kind of letting us settle into a whole different type of show before we get snapped right back to what made us fall in love with it in the first place.
The episode starts off like the best of these episodes, exactly where the last one left off, where Michael's telling Janet to get rid of Derek. Janet says no, and she uses the go get it girl initiative that Eleanor said for her to have. She uses that as her excuse not to get rid of Derek. And when they mention Jason, it causes Derek to pop in because that's a big point of contention for him. And he starts saying Jason a lot. The Jason. And then holds up his Wile E. Coyote yikes sign of help, I can't stop saying Jason is really funny. I think immediately this episode... When I was taking notes for this episode, I was having to pause more than I usually do because it's so quick and it's just one thing after the other, and it has so many moments of, wait, what just happened? What did they just say? What did they just do? I really, really loved it.
It's so funny. I think that the physical comedy that Jason Mantzoukas does, even just the way he holds up the sign while still being stuck there, he plays the role of just a very new creation that has way too much power and ability for something of its mental capacity to handle, and he does it so well.
You're right. It goes right up there with how well Ted Danson plays a character that's not a human in a human body. He's a guy that shouldn't be a guy inside of a guy, and it's really funny. Janet loves Derek and tells him, oh, we're going to spend together forever, and it calms him down. But Michael is immediately on his thread for the episode. He says no. He says, Derek, what's your name? And he says, yes, Derek Hofstetler.
Yes.
And tells Janet that if anyone learns about Derek, namely if Vicky finds out about this, that they're doomed because it's going to bring up all of these questions and lead them down the path of figuring out what Michael and the humans have been doing this whole time. So Michael says to send Derek to his void, but learns that they've moved in together, that they share a void.
Derek's like, really? Wow.
Derek, I think he has a line about how he gets a hanger for his trench coat.
Yes.
Or something like that.
He has a hanger for his overalls now.
Overalls.
Or his jumpsuit, whatever it is.
They've moved into Janet's void together. And Janet has some quietly killer moments in this episode because it's focusing on the people around her more than her after last week really focusing on her. But when she says, when you know, and we know literally everything. And the theme song bit is, we're so in sync, we're finishing each other's Derek. I don't know why. I've seen it 100 times. I know they do it in the show 100 times, but him interjecting his name and his name being Derek just works so for some reason. It's like we've been talking a lot about I Think You Should Leave because season 3 just came out. And a lot of times it's just the wording or choice of words that they use that makes a thing so funny. Like in the Pay It Forward sketch, how it's 55 burgers, 55 fries, 155 taters 55. Yeah. I think that's so funny that it's 55 for some reason. Likewise in this, I think it's so funny that it's Derek. That Derek is the interjection, is the word that they've chosen. I don't know why that name is so funny in this place, but it is.
But it's hilarious. It's a normal name, but I think that's like why it's funny. Is like, why is his name Derek?
Or I don't know. What is a name to this guy? I don't know. It cuts to Jason and Tahani and Michael interrupting them as they're watching Home Alone together. How does Tahani
watch
describe
this horror movie about two ex-cons attacking a lonely child or something like that?
We watched Home Alone last Christmas season, and that movie is kind of fucked up from every angle.
Yeah,
Macaulay
it really is.
Culkin's little kid character is a piece of shit, little twerp that's just causing all this trouble. And then the other guys are terrorizing a child pretty intensely.
They're like about to kill a child.
I forget why, but there's a point where one of them licks his face. That part's really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So they're watching Home Alone, and Michael comes up because he wants a reason to get Tahani and Jason away from the Janet and Derek of it all. So he created a weekend getaway for the two of them, which Tahani's really excited about because here her skin is degraded from radiant to merely dewy.
Imagine me, dewy.
So he set them up this private campsite on the edge of the neighborhood and given Vicky an excuse that he'll be torturing them so they can spend some time together. And they don't think anything of it. He also lets them know, I think this is a really funny Michael moment when he's like, also, Janet is still down, so you can't call her. Best news is none of this is suspicious. Then he does this weird giggle and leaves the room.
Yeah, it's so funny. Because Michael is like freaking out. And I think in the first season, we got a lot of Chidi freaking out, Eleanor freaking out. But this season's been so much of Michael just in a pure state of panic and not knowing what to do and trying to do it on his own before involving the humans, but then immediately telling Eleanor every time. It's great. I think it's just a really good switch in dynamic that is the same but different enough that it feels really comfortable, but also still exciting. Really smart.
Another thing that this show does so smartly is how it brings the Eleanor and Chidi tape back into the fold after not mentioning it for a few episodes. Just like how last week they brought the Janet and Jason back into it after it's been on our mind, and how come they haven't mentioned this in a while? Just when you stop thinking about it because there's so much going on, they bring it back and we see how much this has been affecting Eleanor this whole time that she's been kind of in the background of the last couple episodes.
Well, and I love that they build the world around it and fill in the history of, wow, you sure watched that movie a lot. You know, that she now has to lie about Cannonball Run 2 being her favorite because she can't stop watching this tape and thinking about it.
And it's so smart the way that in the interim since learning about this, the way that Chidi and Eleanor's friendship has blossomed and the way that they work off of each other. They've made it very possible to ship them while nobody is telling each other anything, or Chidi doesn't even know about it. And here they bring it back. Eleanor's watching the tape and Chidi walks in and she uses the Cannonball Run 2 excuse, and how Chidi says, yeah, you've watched that a bunch of times.
Well, it's basically my favorite movie of all time. But you can never watch it. This copy is mine. Uh-oh, I guess I'm still pretty selfish. Help! I need another ethics lesson, quick!
I really like Chidi's demeanor in this episode because he's very much in character, but he's the guy this episode who is noticing that Eleanor's being weird and panicky about stuff, and he kind of lets it go here. But because Michael steps in, and so he doesn't get to push it further. Michael walks in and says, "What you guys doing? Nothing? Great." And Michael has a really funny runner asking Chidi about the ethics of murder. And he's like, "What do the philosophers say about murder?" "Nothing good." They says, "Well, what if you want to murder the person to make your life easier?" Is that good?
It's like,
Chidi doesn't know what's going on, and Michael tries to explain, but he can't explain, so he just calls in Janet and Derek. And Derek goes, "Derek Hofstetler, P.I." So Eleanor and Chidi learn that Janet created Derek, and Eleanor learns that it's specifically because of what she said to Janet. Mm-hmm. And Janet here offers to make Eleanor a rebound person who, like we said, is Steve Austin, some form of Stone Cold Steve Austin and Tahani's body. I think I'm going to go, Well, we've already learned how much in this episode I appreciate a woman's body.
Yeah.
Of work, as we talked about with the director, Judy Wang. Quotations, Judy Wang. But I think I would have to go Tahani's face and Steve Austin's body, because I don't know that I want to make out with Stone Cold Steve Austin's head.
Oh, I'm not going to be kissing this. In this scenario, that's not where my face would be, Zach.
What about you? Where would you go? Which
I'm definitely going Stone Cold's head, because he's got a real shiny bald head.
Pretend to be a straight man.
Yeah.
And as long as the bottom's a lady, I'm in the clear. That's the Stephen Baker.
I think it'd be really fun to have my hands on Stone Cold's head,
as it's much lower down.
Yeah.
With those award-winning Tahani legs.
Exactly.
Michael tells Janet and Derek to buzz off kind of after they prove the point that he wanted. And I love Derek's goodbye. I forget the whole thing, but it's like, "Good Bob, I hope to see you again very now."
Yeah, he's like, "I hope you go there again very now," or something like that. It's very funny.
And Janet says, "His brain is wrong," and they pop out of the room.
Good Bob!
Janet is such a reliable buddy comedy partner. When it's her and Michael, it's funny. When it's her and Jason, it's funny. When it's her and Derek, it's funny. Yeah. She's such a good thing to bounce off of, and Darcy really shines. And so does Jason Mantzoukas. He just fits into this world without having been in it before the end of last episode. He just fits in. For me, I can see how if you don't like the Derek character, that suddenly there's a big focus on him and you think he's annoying. But I think he's funny, so I think it
he's
fits
perfect
and works
because
perfectly.
I think what's funny about Janet is that she knows everything.
Yeah.
And so she understands to a different level, a non-emotional one, everything going on.
Yeah.
Derek understands nothing and only has emotional reactions. And so having them next to each other, I think, is just so, so, so funny. And it works so well for me because he's just as serious about what he's saying as Janet is, but he's just violently wrong. It's like when you see a baby that can't read try and read a book. That's how I would describe Derek.
Absolutely.
He's seen these things. He knows what a person is supposed to
person sits and looks at a book and turns the pages and acts like they understand it, but you're not reading anything. And that's him just existing. Yeah. I like how after they leave, there's a little bit where Chidi's like, "I completely understand now. You don't have to explain anything to me." That cuts to Tahani and Jason playing games together. Tahani is trying to teach Jason how to play croquet. I forget who she says in her name drop, but she's like, "This person called croquet barely a game."
Oh, I do remember that. I don't remember which person either.
Jason's having fun. He likes it as he tries a little bit. Have you ever played croquet? Probably not, right?
Not correctly. My grandma had a little croquet set at her place. I had a little kid's Easter version or something, but I sure didn't know the rules. I was just hitting them through the wickets.
I don't think I would ever be like, "Wow, I played croquet and I'm really into it now," but I think it'd be kind of fun to learn how to play once.
I think playing polo would be exciting because you're playing croquet but on a horse.
Yeah, I don't know about that for me. I think
you don't want to saddle up with me. We can share a mallet.
I just don't think there's any way that I don't get hurt in this pretty bad by a horse that's
be it by a horse,
much more
mallet,
powerful
or
than me.
very
The
heavy
horse
ball.
can sense that I don't belong. Jason likes the game but wants to teach Tahani a game that's more like him, which is kind of golf. It's kind of like the people who go to that Top Golf place in Fishers, where you're kind of like practicing your golf skills, but all you're really doing is whacking a ball and seeing how far you can whack it. And that's what they're doing, and it's really fun. I like the way first Jason hits and goes, Jaguars rule! And then when it's Tahani's turn, she says, Jaguars, very good.
Very good.
They build a champagne tower together and smash it with the ball. I think it's fun, and they're doing a good job as we're feeling for Janet, seeing what she's going through. That there is some chemistry between Jason and Tahani.
And I think they're really cute together. Like, they really are. I love Janet and Jason, but I also kind of love Tahani and Jason.
It's so unexpected that it works so well because the whole first season, Tahani and Jason were anything but compatible for one another. But now that they just kind of let it all out, Jason, she says later, lets her figuratively let her hair down because she's so uppity, and Jason can be like, stop taking everything so seriously, just have some fun, which is perfect for someone like Tahani.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, Michael thinks that they have to kill Derek, that's the only way to solve this. Because if Derek shows up when Vicky calls Janet, they'll be screwed. But Eleanor thinks still maybe that Derek is a good thing for Janet because it's causing her not to glitch like previous episodes. There's no earthquakes or anything because of Derek. And it'll help Janet getting over Jason. But Michael thinks if they can't kill Derek, then they have to break up. Tahani and Jason is the only other explanation. This is a pretty classic Eleanor line when she says,
Girl, you are a messy bench who loves drama, and I am into it.
It's a funny line. Chidi thinks that, though, obviously killing Derek is bad, but breaking up Tahani and Jason also has some ethical negative ramifications. Because Eleanor says isn't keeping a secret from someone basically lying because she's in her own head worried about the Chidi thing as all this is going on. And Chidi says it's okay to keep a secret if it isn't harming anyone, which reassures Eleanor that she's doing the right thing.
She's like, sweet.
Do you think that's true?
I think it depends.
It's not that much different than the lying question from last week.
No, it's not. My thing that I think that honesty is very important. I think trust is important. But I also believe that you don't have to share information that's only going to be hurtful and not helpful. And I think
like
there's a balance.
The friend who always has a story of what people were saying about you when they got together with people.
Yeah,
you know
I
what
don't
I'm
think
saying?
that's always helpful.
It's not necessary to say that. Yeah.
If it's somebody, like, let's say that we both had a really good mutual friend, and we hung out with, like, you hung out with them, and they said a bunch of terrible things about me. I think it would be helpful to let me know because maybe I shouldn't be as close to that person in my life.
It depends on how it affects you. Like, how mutual of a friend are we talking?
And how, I'm saying, like, we have a good friend.
And how cutting were the remarks as well. If someone
I'm in a bad case scenario where they're very bad things, it would make me not want to be friends with them. But let's say you're with somebody who I don't care about and I have no relationship with, and they said bad things about me, I wouldn't care to know because I don't have a relationship with that person.
Or on the other hand, if someone said to me, I love Steven, but I think he's a little annoying, I think I'd be able to just tell you, this person said they loved you. Yeah. What would I say? That's how I love Steven, but he's a little annoying.
Yeah, I get it.
But I feel like I would tell you, this person said they loved you.
I don't discuss you outside of this room. You don't exist to me if you're not on this screen in front of me, Zach.
Where were we? When Eleanor's reassured on her Chidi thing, but she's talking about something else than the other people, she says noise. Yeah. And Chidi like picks up on it, like, what are you talking about? Michael's counter is that it causes harm in general because this could send them to the bad place. But Chidi, on the other hand, thinks that this is a shortcut and they could be sent to the bad place either way, whichever decision that they make. And choosing to take the shortcut to fix your problem is usually a bad decision. Is what Chidi's point is here. Chidi says that moral strength is defined by how we behave in times of stress, and I think there's truth to that. I think the moments in life where you have absolutely no control and you can't have on like your little facade of how you talk to around people. When you're just stressed and scared and angry, those types of emotions, the way you treat other people then is like, I think kind of your soul of souls, because there's no filter up. Maybe it's not 100% because you're in such
I don't
stress.
think it's necessarily a reflection of who you are, but I think it can be a reflection of
what you're capable of, what you need to work on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Has anyone ever told you what a drag you are? Michael says to him after that. Yes, constantly.
Everyone constantly.
Another cute Tahani and Jason scene where Tahani makes Jason a little king crown and calls him king. And Jason's like, oh, dope. How did you learn to make this? And they learn a little bit about each other. Both Tahani's uppity, expressionless girls school. It's very Arrested Development, Milford Academy.
Yeah.
And Jason, who went to Leonard Skinner Tugboat High School. That was really funny. Most of his classes were selling dirty magazines door to door. Was that in your episode?
No, that's incredible.
That's funny.
Actually, maybe it was in mine, but I don't remember it.
Tahani is kind of disturbed by Jason's upbringing, but is envious because she never got to let off that steam and just be herself, whereas Jason was taught that very early on, or was never taught that, like, well, be like this, not like this. Jason just was who he was proudly his whole life. So Jason has this realization, and it's really cute, where first he says, I can be that friend for you, the friend that you can be yourself around. Or husband.
Felt.
So Jason proposes to Tahani. It's so funny that this is now a bit how things escalate to a wedding on The Good Place.
Yeah.
Like, people who are so removed from that type of connection, they get like a little glimmer of it, and they're quick to make a wedding that night.
It's kind of funny, because if you think about that on a larger scale, you know, we always make fun of in culture now how in like Disney princess movies and things, you meet somebody once and you just go and get married. But here that happens too, because when you take away all the responsibilities and things of life in the world, when you find somebody that makes you happy, there's no reason not to grab onto them and want to have that forever. But also there's no reason for the like paperwork of it all and like the patriarchal thing that is a marriage.
They're dead in the afterlife.
Yeah,
they're just playing pretend.
Like, you can bone.
Meanwhile, at Eleanor's house, Eleanor comes up with the idea that they should tell Janet that Derek can stay, but he has to be kept secret, and nobody can see him except for Janet. Michael agrees with this and calls in Janet, which ends up being Janet and Derek just yelling at each other. They're starting to argue. I forget what Derek yells, but something about, because you made me, is like the end of his argument. Yeah. It's a funny
You
moment.
Can never view me as a real man because you made me, or something like that. Oh,
so they're your friends now? I'm stating a fact. They are your friends. I don't know these people. Derek's going to go to his void and get away from the argument, but Janet is quick to remind him that it's my void, it's not your void. And Derek says, fine, then I'll go somewhere else. And he pops away to who knows where, which is, I love the whole thing is Michael, Eleanor, and Chidi make a plan, but then they're just not in control of Derek.
Yeah.
They can't plan him. They can't find him and keep him in one place because he can just pop off somewhere else and nobody knows where that is. I think it's Eleanor who says there, okay, so we're forked here, aren't we? Jason and Tahani then are discussing their engagement. Really funny, cute line where Tahani says, well, why on earth should I marry you? And Jason's like, well, first of all, we're not on Earth. They like each other, Jason says, and he promises that he'll always be nice to her, which is really all Tahani needs to hear. So she agrees and instantly goes into like Bridezilla planning. Like, well, where do we sit Michael and where do we sit Chidi and Eleanor?
Are they going to be opposite them or are they going to be opposite them?
But the reason Jason kind of works for her is that he can say, who cares? Let's just do it at the beach. Let's do it simply. Let's do it today. All the best things happen on the beach. Do you remember what they are? That was your question.
Swimsuit issues, Saving Private Ryan, Jersey Shore, and crabs.
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 They summon Janet, who somberly pops in, which, I don't know, is it weird that earlier Michael was like, Janet's still down, so don't try to call her. It's not really up to Michael if Janet's down. Well, because
they said, like, oh, I wonder if Janet's back up, because they know they need her to plan, and I think that's normal. Like, if your internet isn't working and it's like, we'll send a reboot thing to do it at work, like, you'll be something like, what if my internet's back up and check it? even before somebody sends you an email that says your internet's working.
One of Darcy's best moments is here.
Janet.
Hi there.
Is everything all right, Janet? Yeah, everything's fine. It's okay. Yeah, I'm fine. So, it's all fine. How can I help you?
Elsewhere, Eleanor, Chidi, and Michael find Derek stuck into a tree doing the classic, "Hi, I'm Derek. Hi, I'm Derek," to all the branches of the tree.
So funny.
Janet's not allowed in his tree. He booby-trapped it. But then Janet pops in to talk about the wedding, and Derek immediately goes to, "Oh my God, Janet, I'm so glad you're here." But Janet's not talking to him. She's announcing the wedding, that Tahani and Jason are getting married, and they all have invitations, these fancy-looking invitations. And it's funny that Michael's the one who reads where it says, "It would be totally dope if you biznatches come and get turned up with us afterwards."
I really like how Darcy delivers her lines for the last scene in this one, because she's very monotone, like, I'm fine, I'm feeling no emotion. And then she talks to Derek and is like, "I'm not talking to you right now. I'm here for the..." And then it goes back into, like, dead inside. It's so funny.
The development of Janet these last couple episodes has been great. Like, last week, it was so much the foreground. And then this week, you can still see it even though she's kind of not in the main story. She's great. Janet and Derek start arguing again. And so Janet goes into the void, which Derek follows, and it frustrates Chidi, Eleanor, and Michael, because they just had him there. They were going to get him and put him somewhere, I guess, and now they can't, because they can just pop off wherever they want. Michael understands the ethics of the situation, but they need to break up Jason and Tahani so they can get rid of Derek. And Chidi argues the only way for that to be okay is to break up Jason and Tahani without the intention to kill Derek. Because killing someone is always bad. And then my favorite bit of those three as a trio is Michael's, "Yeah, wink, will not kill Derek." It's like, no,
no,
don't wink. Don't say wink. Winking is bad. And Eleanor's like, "Yeah, okay, wink, we're going to go not try to kill Derek." I think that's so funny how the three of them work off of each other. So Jason and Tahani are getting married, and Jason's reading off his vows. Their vows to each other are so funny. You already said the line, but Jason's saying, why I shouldn't eat everything that smells good, because sometimes it's candles. There's some creepy lines in this episode that make me laugh, but I could see why make other people uncomfortable. One of them is Jason saying, "You're basically like a hot genius teacher who sometimes has sex with me, your student." Was that in your episode?
Yeah, I thought that was funny. That used to happen all the time.
This time she won't go to jail like the person at Leonard Skinner High School. Was that in your episode?
Yeah.
I like how Jason takes the piece of paper that his vows are on and Mike drops them. And goes, "Brap, brap, pew, pew."
Yeah, that was mine too. That was funny.
Tahani's vows immediately belittle Jason and calls him a swamp dweller. And exposes Jason for asking her if the presidents on Mount Rushmore have butts on the other side. That's such an innocent, childlike thought that makes no sense for Jason to be like, "Well, on the other side, is it their butt?" That's so funny. Tahani says it doesn't make sense, but when they're together, she can let her hair down. Of course, she's never let her hair down. She's not a factory worker.
It was so funny.
But Jason lets her feel that way. And as she says, "You know what? I think I love you," the wedding is interrupted. I love how Eleanor's super excited to finally be a part of a wedding that's getting interrupted like that. And Michael shows up and tries to explain why they can't get married, but can't, because Chidi, I forget what Michael calls Chidi, like Professor Dork or something over here. I forget how he says it. Got into his head, and he can't do it. So Eleanor has to be the bearer of bad news. He called him an
egghead a bunch of times earlier.
Yeah, egghead. Did yours have the bad news bearer joke?
Yes.
That's so funny.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news.
I think you mean bad news bear.
Eleanor tells Jason that he was married to Janet, and I love watching Janet's reaction behind them when this is happening. When she's like, yep. I love watching her face. It's really great. Yeah. Eleanor explains to them how Janet created Derek, who then pops in and thinks that Eleanor is Jason, and he's really mad.
This is what I think is so fucking funny.
Tell me.
I was laughing so hard when he's like, well, we fight, because he goes to shove her, and it's like, "No, I'm Eleanor, that's Jason," like turns him around. I was laughing because him just walking right up to her, ready to fight this Jason that's been his enemy forever. No, he's met Eleanor 3 times.
Then I also think it's really funny because Tahani's getting overwhelmed and she says, Janet, fetch me my dizzy couch. And
my tizzy couch.
I thought it was dizzy couch.
It's tizzy with a T.
But that's fine too. I still think it's the same funny. That she has the long couch to fall back into. Oh man, it's funny. Michael calls a smaller group meeting, and while that happens, Janet and Derek talk out their differences. That's when Janet says, save your drama for your mama, and technically, I am your mama, and I don't want it. It's time to make a decision. Eleanor says, because she's dealing with another thing quietly this whole episode, you should just reboot all of us. Reboot Janet and Jason and Derek so that all goes away, but also reboot us so we can forget any stuff that we would maybe
any
like
embarrassing
to forget.
things, any farts that happened, or anything else.
But Chidi's still against this. Michael thinks the only options are to reboot either Derek or Janet. Chidi brings up the doctrine of double effect, which is how doing one thing can have two effects. And Michael's line of, well, I'm practicing the doctrine of not being completely effed. So he decides to reboot both of them. This episode is a real spiritual sequel to the Eternal Shriek last season, which was our favorite. How now we have the two buttons and the jerry-rigged Derek button next to Janet's like pretty put together button. And they're both begging for their life as Michael thinks about pressing the button. I think it's so funny. Don't kill a baby, Michael. Would you kill a baby?
That wasn't in mine. That's so funny.
Really? The two buttons?
The two buttons were, but it was just like Janet and Derek talking.
It has the moment where they're both like begging for their life as Michael goes to the button, and Janet's like, I'm a mom now. I have a mom boyfriend. You can't kill a mom. And at the same time, Derek's yelling, I'm a baby. I was just born today.
That's so funny.
Michael, are you going to kill a baby? Don't kill a baby. I thought it was funny. So Michael can't do it and walks off. That's when we get the moment, what does Jason have that I don't have that Derek has? And we learn.
Yeah, I don't think the button moment was in mine at all.
It's a funny bit. We learned that Jason has a soul and real genitals, which Derek doesn't have. And it makes a funny aside of how Janet also misunderstands what a person is supposed to be like. She doesn't really, they could never figure out how to have sex, so she doesn't really know what to do around there. So she gave him wind chimes instead of a penis.
Honestly, that could be very effective.
How?
Especially if, how many chimes you got? That's like musical schlongs.
I guess.
Did you like the use of the word schlong today, Zach?
Sure. I guess.
Come out of my mouth
Again,
in a while.
I guess. Janet's very confused that she doesn't know what this is all about and what to do and what she's feeling because she's the person that's supposed to know everything and this, or the thing that's supposed to know everything. And this little breakdown that she has is a good moment for Janet. So Eleanor takes her to the side and has a chat with Janet. This is a really good Eleanor moment where she explains that she's realized that Jason wasn't just some little fling that Janet's getting rid of. That's something that you can get over with by like hooking up with somebody. She loved Jason. It was real, and Eleanor wasn't there to see it, so she didn't know how real it was. Janet was truly in love. There's this aside how Eleanor thinks that Janet and Jason was like the guy that she used to make out with in the walk-in freezer at a Brugger's Bagels. Is that in your episode? His name is Marcus, but Eleanor always called him Ben. Yeah. Did you have anyone at the Ruler Foods that you would make out with in the walk-in freezer?
Not exactly. I did go on a couple dates with a girl that I worked with there, but she turned up to be anti the Obama family, and I was like, well, fuck that. And she didn't think Thor Ragnarok was funny.
Okay, it might not be.
Zach, fuck you. It's very funny. You don't know anything.
But what, do you think she likes the Little Mermaid, Halle Bailey?
Probably not.
Yeah.
Especially because she, like, at one time had, like, Little Mermaid fake dyed red hair, so I'm sure.
I have a friend whose name is Ariel, and she loved the new movie. She told me she loved it, too.
Because it was great.
Real heartbreak doesn't have a simple cure. Like your heartbreak when you realize that the new Little Mermaid's just okay. And Eleanor says you will feel better over time. There's no simple cure, but you've got to give it time. Things will happen. You'll feel better. Just let time pass. But Janet doesn't experience the passage of time like we do. She does use it as lotion sometimes. And even funnier than that when Eleanor says, oh, wow, yeah, your skin looks incredible. She's like, thank you. Not skin.
All those make me laugh every time. Not a girl. Not a person.
Like sands through an hourglass, we've reached the moment in the podcast where they're mowing outside my apartment as we near the end of the episode. So there's that for you all. I'll call it out because there's no cutting around it. Mm-hmm. Talking about your feelings is the worst, Eleanor understands and explains. Having sex about your feelings is better. But Janet, who's not ready to talk to Jason, now she has Eleanor. Eleanor has this sweet moment where she says, you can talk to me until you're ready to talk to Jason, which is really big for Eleanor. Yeah. And Eleanor also learns that Marcus is now the manager of that Brugger's Bagels. He's still there.
I don't think that was in mine. That's cute.
So Janet has now decided that it's time to get rid of Derek because she feels a little bit better. And she tells Derek that she never should have made him and he should go away. I thought it was funny the way Derek says, I understand, because you understand.
So cute.
And his little speech of...
Janet, this relationship has been the best 7 hours of my whole life.
It's been the only 7 hours of my whole life. It's been my whole life.
I made you this morning. We all remember.
And Janet's like, yeah, I made you. We all remember.
We all remember.
Then they start making out really passionately with each other. The stuff that Janet does with her arms around
I like
Derek,
when he lifts his leg.
It doesn't make it look like it's just a transfer of information, but that's all it is. That Janet's reabsorbing her essence that she put into Derek. And all of the gang's reactions to this is super funny. Jason, can you get pregnant from reabsorbing? And then the wind chimes start.
The wind chimes
making
is
noise.
so funny.
Eleanor's like, I hear wind chimes. Everybody look away. I'm gonna look, but you guys turn away. Slam cut to Janet has Derek in a crate now, like he's the leg lamp from A Christmas Story with straw underneath him. And Janet's kind of eulogizing Derek. From the moment I made you, everyone wanted to kill you, and then I did. Bye, mommy girlfriend, is what Derek says. Girlfriend. It's so creepy. One of them, I think Eleanor says, he seems pretty alive to me. He doesn't really seem dead. He's talking openly in this crate that you're about to close him into. And he just seems so fine with it. Because Janet decided, and Derek is just an extension of Janet. Suddenly he doesn't have all of... I'm good. He's as dead as he can be. It's like he's in power saver mode. Janet thinks she's going to be okay now, that she won't glitch as badly because she knows what she's going through and she has a friend to talk to. And she puts Derek in the box and she's going to take Derek to a deep corner of her void. So she pops away and she says, bye, guys. And Derek says, Derek. And they pop away. It's the end of the legend, but not forever. He'll be back. Jason and Tahani have a cute last moment of the episode where they talk about what they learned and what they're going to do next because of it in bed. They're glad that they didn't rush into marriage because they still have a lot to learn about each other. This is where Tahani asks Jason about her first kiss and then immediately wishes she didn't. Earlier when we discussed that line, you said you get it when he said he made out with the hot mouse, the mouse from Chuck E. Cheese. Why do you get that? You think the mouse is hot?
I understand, having a crush on
inanimate objects.
Not real things.
Well, I guess they
are
are animate. Like what? What do you have a crush on that wasn't real when you were a kid?
And I'm not even talking.
Oh, cartoons. you had a crush on an animal at a zoo, right?
On Sue, the T-Rex from the Field Museum in Chicago.
The bone. We've told this
story.
The
skeleton
before.
of, not on this podcast.
Yeah.
So as a kid, I really loved dinosaurs, and there is a pretty famous Tyrannosaurus Rex at the Field Museum in Chicago whose name is Sue. I decided at about 3 years old that I wanted to marry Sue. It had all the great qualities, a dinosaur.
Doesn't talk too much.
Yeah,
Doesn't ask any questions.
Pretty name.
Anything goes. A lot of space to
big
work
old
with.
banana-sized teeth. And so my uncle's, I think, girlfriend at the time, or it was his ex-wife, one of the two, used to, call me on the phone and pretend to be Sue, and so I would talk to her on the phone. And for some reason I thought that her favorite cookies were this Girl Scout cookie. I think maybe what's the one that comes in the purple box, Zach?
Which cookie? Ooh, I think that might be the Samoans,
yeah. That was her favorite, so I would always bring boxes to give to security when I went to the Field Museum.
Not the dinosaur's favorite. It was the dinosaur's favorite.
It was the dinosaur's favorite,
and
yeah.
You took a box of cookies to the security
to the museum and said,
hey,
"This
is my girlfriend. That hunk of bones is favorite."
You see
cookie.
that fine piece of ass up there? Make sure she gets these cookies.
And you're still seeing Sue as an adult. You've seen her as an adult.
I went in to see her once as an adult, and it was I was a little I cried. It was great. I was
Did you really?
Excited. I was because I hadn't seen this since I was a kid, and the perspective was different. I was so excited. Because I even after I realized that it was a dinosaur bones, like it was a really special
even
thing
after
in my
I
heart
realized
as a kid
it was a dinosaur bones. That's an I think you should leave sketch there.
Yeah.
The adult going back to meet the dinosaur he had a crush on as a kid and asking the security guard to give her some Girl Scout cookies for him. You should have brought some when you went.
Yeah.
I don't think you mentioned the Samoas last time you brought it up.
I got her a pair of earrings.
Were you disappointed when you came back as an adult and she wasn't wearing them? She'd moved on.
They said that she couldn't wear them during work.
In Steven's defense, Night at the Museum was just huge at the time.
Yeah! I was fucking 3.
Okay,
I didn't know you couldn't marry a dinosaur bone.
Jason knows the truth about Janet now, but he doesn't remember it at all. And kind of similar to what we'll see from Chidi in a little bit, he doesn't go right into having these unresolved feelings for Janet that he doesn't know in that way at all. He still likes Tahani, and he apologizes to her. I thought it was really great, apologizing for how this makes her feel weird. Once you strip away all the weirdness of it, it is a complicated relationship dynamic to try to build off of. And Tahani admits that she likes Jason still too, but doesn't know what should happen now. And Jason, it's a little cringe, a little corny. How about we reabsorb each other? Oh, Jason, and then they cuddle. But it's also cute. I mean, I'm not rooting for these two. Yeah. Then we cut to another big reveal of the several as we finish up this episode. Chidi, back home, has been picking up on Eleanor being off this entire time and asks Eleanor if something's wrong, and she denies it for like a split second, but then immediately comes out with it. She's in the point where this is weighing so heavily on her, all she needed was for somebody to bring it up and she'll spill. She's been keeping this secret. It's about Chidi. She's been keeping it from him, and she doesn't think it's harming him, but if she does tell him, it might. So she doesn't think she has to tell. I like how Chidi, who's always the one to say things like that, is just as quick to be like, yeah, forget all that. I'm freaking out, so just tell me. I thought that was a good Chidi moment. So Eleanor shows Chidi the videotape, where they both effortlessly, after some lovemaking, it appears, say
some
to each
reabsorption of their own.
That they love each other without any hesitation. And Chidi, just like Eleanor, can't believe that they both said it so effortlessly. He's never been that certain of anything. He once tried to rent socks. Was that in your episode?
I think so.
That's funny. He tried to rent socks. Eleanor gets that. Well, he says, I don't know how I know how you said it because I'm a smoke show, but how did I say it to you? She just wants to let it all out there because she's been holding it in. She clearly has a lot to say. But first, she asks Chidi the big question, do you have anything for me? Do you have any feelings still for me at all now? And the way William Jackson Harper, like, so tenderly delivers, because he doesn't know what Eleanor's feeling, delivers the, I'm sorry, but I don't think that I do, is perfect. Because Eleanor has the chance to take back everything that she might have said and say her, oh, well, why are you sorry? I'm relieved. I was worried about this. Now we're all good. And Chidi does feel really close to Eleanor, which is sweet. How he's like, I feel really close to you. I just don't know if I want to take it that way. And Eleanor talks over him. He's like, oh, good. I'm glad. That's it. We're done. We're covered that up. Michael comes in and it's late. He apologizes and asks Eleanor to chat. And Chidi does want to talk through this because, I don't know, he can probably tell that Eleanor is frazzled about it, has been holding on to it for a while. But Eleanor says, no, we're good. I'm gonna move on from this, and goes to chat with Michael. To another great scene where Michael and Eleanor have a little chat that's purely Michael coming to Eleanor for human advice of like,
which is awesome.
Yes.
It's so cool because we've gotten to see Michael grow from still like extremely evil and wanting to deceive them and torture them to now Michael is this more realized
I didn't hear anything.
Being. It sounded like some guy, like,
do something
absolutely
weird
throwing up outside. He's like,
oh.
Either that or somebody's like just turned into the Hulk for the first time.
For the first time. That'll take it out of you.
Yeah.
Trust me.
But
that's what I did when I changed the brakes on my car. I just turned into the Hulk for the first time.
You lifted it off a baby.
I retched a little. I won't lie.
Yeah, you gotta
turn into the Hulk for the first time. Your little shorts get ripped. It's tough.
Zach's pecs is just out there in the wind. With Stone Cold Steve Austin's like left ankle. It's great.
Where you going with that? It's really nice. Michael's a human now.
Yeah, you get it.
Michael's asking Eleanor, how did you do all this? And Eleanor first says, why are you asking me and not Chidi, who's the king of this? But Michael has noticed, I made this neighborhood under the assumption that Eleanor giving up would be like what breaks the camel's back every time. But no matter what, here, every tough challenge, she always tried to become better every time. And he asks her why. And Eleanor gives a really great speech. Kristen Bell's been kind of kept to the sidelines a little bit this season, and I think she really shines here, talking about in life she did all this bad stuff and always had that annoying voice that told you not to, and now in this world, when she's improving herself, she doesn't like have to live under the weight of this voice that's always telling her to be better, to do this, to do that, because she's already coming at things from the perspective of I'm trying to do the best I can, instead of always feeling like I'm doing something I shouldn't be doing and I'm gonna have to cover that up. Which can be really freeing. I don't know. You mentioned that you're kind of on a personal journey and you feel like you're in a place where you're really cool with yourself and you feel like you're making good decisions. Do you relate to what she's talking about at all?
Yeah, I think that there's a really kind of freeing feeling when you feel happy in multiple areas of your life and you feel like you as a person, you yourself have done things to intentionally improve how you feel. And I think that's a really important thing. We did something at work where we all went around and gave like a 5 to 10 minute kind of talk about something we're passionate about, like as like an exercise with like my staff and things. It was a really good idea that fan of the show, Summer, patron, thought of that I thought was really effective because you kind of got to get to know everyone a little bit better, because if somebody's passionate about something, they don't always talk about that at work, especially a job like this where you're constantly teaching people and we don't necessarily like hang out all day together because we're all different amounts of busy. But there was one of the guys that works at the studio was talking about being in love with yourself and being able to really like the decisions and choices that you are intentional about on a daily basis. And I think that's really special. And I think that
I agree.
That's something that I hope everyone can experience. Obviously we have days where we don't like ourselves and don't like our decisions, but it's nice to kind of take a second and be proud of yourself for things that you've accomplished.
Well, I feel like I'm kind of going through a little bit of an extreme of that because I have always really struggled with like anxiety, with being depressed, with like my self-image. And those are all things that I will always probably struggle with. But I think I've really turned a page on being comfortable with myself. And when people don't like me, it doesn't bother me anymore because I like the things about me, and I understand why someone wouldn't like that about me. And I think that's a good thing to find peace with, to be like, I can be a lot. And if someone doesn't vibe with that, that's not on either of us. That just means we're not meant to be best friends. And that's cool. I don't know. I feel like
you did get my letter then.
I did get your letter, and I shredded it fast. So yeah, the Michael Eleanor conversation is great. And at the end, when Eleanor says, you really did just come here to chat, didn't you? You're becoming more human. And things with their group are really starting to click. And of course, because this is the good place, this sweet, honest human moment is immediately undercut by Michael walking into his office to see Sean at the desk. And he says, plainly, hello, Michael, shut the door, have a seat. It leaves so many options on the table. We don't know exactly what happens. We don't know exactly what he knows. But you know that he's probably there because he knows.
Well, and there's two really smart things that they do. One of which is just the shot of Michael walking in where you can see that everything is great on the wall behind him. Is reminding us that we're not in the good place. This is the bad place.
Yeah.
And Michael walking into that office was us coming back into the real world and being like, oh shit, we're in the bad place still.
There goes gravity.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're right.
And
it's a
mobile
great moment.
home badisy.
And I kind of forgot when I watched this episode. I knew that we were getting close to some big stuff in the season. But I take each episode as its own, and I was so on the positive ride the end of this episode was, that it does hit you like a ton of bricks when Michael, who's improving so much, is met with this, and I'm really excited to see what happens next because I kind of forget the order.
Yeah, totally. I remember, like, I was watching the episode and I'm like, oh shit, is something bad about to happen? Because Michael and Eleanor are talking and like she's like, it's all positive, and I'm like, this, like, something's got, like, the shoe's gonna drop. And then he walked in and I was like, oh fuck, it's Sean! And it's so smart, so well done. I'm sure that, like, watching the episode for the first time, we were shocked when this happened because we were like, "Oh fuck, what happened?" Like, you see
both shocked
Sean's stack
and of course this happens. Because they weren't gonna get away with this forever. Of course, Sean's gonna like, I'm gonna check in on this and notice Vicky's running this place. What's going on? I don't know. It all it takes is for him to check on them once,
and it's bad.
So you're right. It's a shock, but it's also a well, fuck. I mean, they kind of did it to themselves. What are they gonna do? And that's where the show leaves us. Originally, when this aired, the show took a couple weeks off before coming back. And I think it's very fitting that after this episode, we're taking a couple weeks off before we come back to do the next episode in 2 weeks. I think this was a really, 3 weeks, I guess, maybe for them, because we're taking 2 weeks off. I'm not sure. We'll talk about that in a second. This episode is really great, and it's a really great place to take a pause because, like the show does so well, they've completely ripped open what's going on, and we have no idea what they're going to do next.
Yeah, I'm excited to kind of enter the final chapter of this season that sets the stage for season 3.
Yeah.
And I remember how excited I was to watch these episodes and how it
essential
they were to sit down and much we're gonna expand the world and universe that we're in. We get to go to some really cool settings very soon.
Some characters that haven't shown.
We're almost to the episode that we did for the like vote on this show.
That's not true.
Was that? Did we do a? Oh no, we that was one of the
last like 5 episodes or something.
We didn't do a season 4 one.
Yes, we absolutely did. We did the episode "You've Changed, Man." It's like one of the last 5 episodes of the show.
Oh shit!
It's the Timothy Oliphant one. Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot we did that one. Wow.
How soon we forget.
For some reason, I thought we did Diana, Jack, and Trent.
That might have been on the list.
Maybe.
But no, we absolutely recorded a full podcast on not that episode.
Oh, wow.
You'll remember when we get to the Timothy Oliphant one that we've talked about.
Yeah, I know the episode very well. I just...
Because there's a character in that episode that we haven't met yet.
And we meet them very soon.
That's coming up soon. Well, that's this episode. I had a lot of fun talking about it. Before we close out the show, let's do our good place and bad place. Starting with the bad place, I think it's going to be... Well, I don't know. I'm torn. Because Michael's the one that's like, let's kill these people. But then at the end, he makes the biggest come around to maybe even getting some good place points in the end. I'm torn on who to give the bad place to. I'm torn. I'm vexed.
So here's how my bad place thought was.
I came up with mine.
I don't think anyone was bad this week. But for being at the crux of a lot of the issues going on, and for not giving Derek the respect he deserved because she made him.
With you. Yeah.
I'm giving it to Janet this
Before
week.
You started saying, I said I know who mine is, and it's Janet too. I think this might be the only time in the whole series that Janet gets bad place points.
Probably, yeah.
Because, sure, she's going through stuff.
She's acting more human.
Understand why she created Derek.
Yeah.
But she's the reason all of this is in flux because of quick, flighty decisions she made. Even though it's based on what Eleanor told her, she could have put a little more thought into what is me creating a person going to do for this ruse we're all trying to keep up. I agree. Janet, it's not going to happen often, but she's going to the bad place this week. The good place, I think I'm going to give it to Eleanor. I think Michael's close, but Eleanor time and time again is proving how much growth she's gone through and how much I love seeing that Eleanor is still mischievous, but she is guided by her own thoughts of what is right and wrong and no longer being guided by that mischievousness. I think her conversations, I think how open she is with Chidi about, well, this is why I'm struggling with this and why I think I should or shouldn't tell you, and then coming out and talking about it, and then the way she is with Michael in the end of the episode. I don't know. It's a good Michael episode, but I think just because of a couple of iffy things he does, I'm going to give the edge to Eleanor.
So my reasons for not picking Eleanor are very nitpicky.
Okay.
I think that her motivations throughout the episode kind of waver between I need to do the right thing and I'm looking for an out so I don't have to do the right thing, which I understand. It's like very, very tight between who I did pick. I think Derek has a great episode.
Sure.
But
he's
Derek
MVP,
is a little volatile.
maybe.
Yeah. But I'm going to give my good place points to someone who I think this week demonstrated a lot of growth and intellectual maturity, Jason Mendoza.
Okay,
I
sure.
think that he's super sweet to Tahani. I think he has real conversations like, hey, like, I know that on Earth this wouldn't work out, but we're not on Earth. Like, why shouldn't we be together? And I think that especially he earns this at the end of the episode when Janet unveils the thing to him. I think he handles it very maturely. I think he doesn't do anything to hurt Janet or belittle her
I don't know.
feelings.
He certainly doesn't have a conversation with Janet about it.
No, but she's not ready to talk to him. And I think that when he's talking to Tahani, he's like, hey, I don't have control over what I did in the past, but I'm fully committed to you now, and I'm sorry about how this makes you feel, but I'm here for you, and I want to continue to be here for you. And I think that that's really mature.
I think it's missing a scene where Jason makes some attempt to say something to Janet, and Janet can say, I'm not ready to talk about it yet, and she could say, well, he could say, well, I respect that. Yeah. But I do feel like him kind of ignoring Janet through it. And I think the reason I'm sticking with Eleanor is because Eleanor is a lot more decisive in the ethics of her decision, whereas Jason just kind of happens to be in the right because he's a good, loving guy. Mm-hmm. But I'm not taking away from you. I think Jason had a quietly good episode here.
Yeah.
Let's wrap this thing up. Let's talk about the weeks ahead. We're going to be off, kind of, the last 2 Mondays of June. Next week, we're going to release, instead of a Time Knife episode, the first 2 episodes as one podcast of our That 70s Show Patreon podcast, The Basement. That's coming out next Monday. It'll be a full-length podcast, so check it out. And if you like what you hear, come join us on Patreon, patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast, where you can get all of the episodes of The Basement so far, be the first to listen to it every week when it comes out, on top of all the other things we're doing over there. Then the week after, on the 26th of June, we're pretty much going to be off. We'll drop a little bit of audio because I'm deeply afraid if we disappear for one single week, you'll all forget we ever existed. But we'll be back for the next Good Place recap
Zachary.
On Monday, July 3rd. We'll be back to talk about the next episode. Do you remember what the next one's called? Is the next one like
yes.
Is the next one Leap of Faith?
Leap to Faith.
Is that the next episode?
Mm-hmm.
We'll be back to talk about that on Monday, June 3rd, but we'll be around, so keep hanging out with us throughout the end, Monday, July 3rd, sorry. But keep hanging out with us in the end of June as we enjoy our little summer break.
Brah, 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 brah.
Steven, where other than Patreon can these lovely people find us?
If you want to Derek, our Derek's, then make sure that you go Derek us over at Time Knife Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and Derek. You can also check us out on YouTube where you can find the video Derek to this pod.
You can see the moment where I made a face during Steven's recap this week.
You can see the moment where I disassociated from life for 30 seconds while Zach was talking at some point during the episode. I'm not going to tell him when though. He'll have to find
it's
out
most
later.
of the times.
I was very clearly up here and I was like, oh shit. It was great.
Well, that's funny because sometimes I do it while I'm talking about something.
But check that out on YouTube. Search the name of the show.
Thanks for watching the YouTube if you do. And for commenting. I love the people that comment on the YouTube. That feels like a really direct, I just listened to the thing and these are my thoughts. I really like when people do stuff like that.
On YouTube, you get to see what zany shirts Zach and I are wearing.
You can't even see mine this whole episode. I'm wearing
I knew what yours was by just the top fifth of it.
But I don't think on this video you even saw anything but black. There you go. It's a cool shirt.
And you can see what little anime figure I'm going to have up on my desk that week.
Yes. Thanks for hanging out with us. What I wanted to say is it's a great time to send us in some emails. We've got 5 episodes left of season 2, and we're not recording again until June 26th or something. So it's a great time to send us in some trivia and who you would send to the good and bad place and your thoughts on these next 5 episodes of season 2 before we come back to start recording throughout the rest of the summer. Don't you think that would sound nice if the people
Write to us.
Send us some messages? Thank you for listening to us every week.
Or least favorite things about us as people. Really get in there.
Sometimes I really do think about how we are a part of some people's weekly routine.
Mm-hmm.
This is my weekly routine to hang out with my friend and talk about the show. But doing it with us is like a lot of people's weekly routine, and that's pretty neat.
That's cute. That's fun. Thanks, guys.
So thanks for that. We'll be back next time. Steven, get us out of here.
From inside the Time Knife, Black Lives Matter.
I'm Zach.
I'm Steven.
And we'll see you next week with our That 70s preview. Thanks for tuning in. We love you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Derek.